here in a minute. I've got a little video I wanted to start things off with, and I want to welcome everybody to Acunet's first Lunch and Learn of the year. My goal is to pack some value into this next 75 minutes, get your brains firing on the possibilities, and get the conversation started on your business and how we can digitally transform it. I want to address the title first. It's a little bit provocative, Cloud ERP and using PPP money to pay for it. When you look at PPP, it's really unemployment compensation paid through the employer to the employees who otherwise might be laid off. Many of the businesses I work with, are slower now. Forecasting, some are forecasting, haven't slowed down yet, but they're forecasting a slowdown the next 60 days. Some of the folks in retail, and other industries just got crushed. They pretty much totally shut down. Just 4 months ago, most were so busy, I couldn't get an appointment with them to talk about any kind of business process improvement project. They were just too busy and they didn't have the bandwidth to get those projects done. My point is that now we're slower and many businesses have been able to get the PPP money so they can keep their staff on, but they might be slower than they were 4 months ago. So my argument is that now's the time to use that valuable resource, that manpower that you have, to successfully implement the kind of disruptive change that you get when you bring on a new ERP system, business management system, or do any kind of business process improvement. So you have that capacity, and now's the time to exploit it, to use your most valuable resource to make your business better. Effectively, you're using the PPP money to pay for process improvements that your business will benefit from for the next 10 years or more, conceivably. PPP pays on payroll for pre-COVID compared to post-COVID employee payroll levels. One option is, you might have somebody in your staff, a controller type, an accounting type, an IT type, that maybe you don't have enough work right now for the next 60, 90 days to put them back into the regular work. Why not repurpose them to lead a business process improvement project, implement a new ERP system, get the design done, get something done to use this slower time and have the PPP money pay for it. Something else that we didn't have before was, you couldn't hire people. We were nearly full employment. Right now, we're at 15, pushing 20% unemployment. So there are resources out there now that you can hire to lead a project like this if you don't have the skill set in-house. One of the tips I'll give is that, without a doubt, one of the biggest factors I've seen in the success of a new ERP or a new business management system was having an internal project manager that worked at the customer site, that knew their business processes, that could arrange meetings and control employees to do the work that it takes to get a new ERP system in and keep them on task. So that internal project manager will make your project more successful.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Las Vegas. Welcome, everyone, to the Acumatica Summit 2020. This, of course, is absolutely ground zero for the Acumatica community.
It's always amazing to see the growth in both the number of attendees and some of the statistics that get shared.
They talked about the ability to take images or pricing or stock information out of the Acumatica system seamlessly out to the website. And it makes doing those updates very easy.
Acumatica is really listening to the ecosystem. They're really listening to the partners and the customers.
Just to be connected with the ecosystem, it's a big plus.
Their vision, it's our vision.
300 new features on the product. A super platform that continues to deliver.
I am so pumped up. Welcome to day 2 of the keynotes.
Our development team continues to deliver on time, on schedule, and these phenomenal releases year after year.
Everybody always loves to come to Vegas.
It's what's next for Acumatica, and that always excites all of us.
Oh, the energy in that room today, if you didn't come out of there pumped, I'm not sure you're a human being.
Thank you for being here at the center of the Acumatica global community, and thank you for your trust.
Okay, that last person you saw was John Roscoe, and I'll kick my video camera on here for a minute. So John Roscoe is a former VP at Microsoft, very knowledgeable in the ERP industry, and is now the president of Acumatica, and has been for the last 4 years or so. And he is working 24/7 to make Acumatica the most widely used ERP system in the world, and they're getting there rapidly. So I hope that video pumped you up. I know it did for me. That video was shot at Acumatica's Partner and Customer Summit, which happens in January every year. And it is just packed with training is the big thing that you get there. Get 3 or 4 days of intensive training on the product. New features are released. It's a chance to meet with hundreds of value-added integrators and add-on products for Acumatica. And also a chance to talk with thousands of Acumatica customers. So you can share best practices and experiences, talk to people in your industry about how they're using the system, and get some real, life experience on what it took for them to implement the system and how it's impacting their business. I'm showing my video so you can see my COVID haircut. Ohio opened up the hair salons and barbershops on Friday, and this afternoon I can get my haircut. I don't think I've ever been so excited about getting a haircut as I am today. I'll be covering, in today's presentation, I'll be covering digital transformation and the Acumatica company overview for about 20 more minutes. Mike Coleman will actually do a live demonstration of some of the key features in Acumatica. And then we'll have time. We got a reasonably sized group here today to do some question and answer at the end. So, what is digital transformation? We have been moving or driving in this direction for quite a while now. If you look at it, the COVID virus has just stepped on the gas in the last 60 days. Most people and businesses are already doing online banking. Many are purchasing for business and personal with credit cards. Payroll is generally online. We pay our taxes electronically. We shop online. We even had today's lunch order digitally done. So the cloud digital transformation is here, and we're doing it already with some of our most confidential information. So I guarantee you we can do it better with a cloud-based accounting or ERP system. I really don't like that word anymore. It's a broad name for enterprise resource planning or a business system that runs your whole business. That's what ERP means. But I like the term business management system, and because that's what something like Acumatica does. Now, once you integrate it with all the other products that it takes to really run a business successfully from one platform. So, and this is where Acunet adds value. We help you use all this advanced technology, but implement it to actually change your business processes to exploit them. It just doesn't do any good to move exactly what you had with your on-premise system to the cloud and do it the same way, there are efficiencies and optimizations we can make that'll really bump up the ROI, make your business more competitive and flexible and successful. So, one small example that I can use that might highlight using some of the new features in a digital product like Acumatica is adding a new vendor or a subcontractor. Typically most of this process today is done outside the accounting system. You interview a subcontractor, you send them a Word or PDF document over email, they sign it, you scan it, maybe email it to AP and ask them to set up a new vendor. They say, hey, wait a minute, we need a W-9 form filled out for this person. Maybe the project managers are saying, hey, I want this person to be able to enter time against my projects, but the time isn't set up. So there's a lot of inefficiencies in that process, which can all be automated using workflow and some of the integrated tools that are available with Acumatica. So what would the new scenario would be that a project manager can go online and do the basic AP setup. They can put in the name, the address. They may not know the account number or the sub-account that it's supposed to be set up as. They may not have control over the terms, but they can do the basic informational setup and kick off a workflow that would send the subcontractor the W-9 form that needs to be filled out, a contract that needs to be filled out and signed, and there's a built-in integration with DocuSign and also PDF that you can use to send those documents. Have them sign them. When they're signed and returned, they automatically get attached to that vendor record or the project ID record, depending on what you want it to do. So that it's all within the system. The setup that the project manager did to add the vendor is passed on automatically to accounting, where they double check the accounts, the sub accounts, the terms, and make sure it's all set up right. And then accounting is actually the one that releases the vendor setup that will allow a check to eventually be cut to them once all the compliance is done. Once they've got that W-9 on file, once they've got that signed contract back, they're the ones that approve it. And then also that can pass on to the project managers that they're now allowed to turn that vendor on so that time cards and expenses can be entered for that subcontractor as well. So that's just a simple example of using workflow, which is universal in Acumatica. Every screen has workflow. So we can do nice things like set up a workflow on a quote, that the quote gets approved by a project manager or an inventory manager or a sales manager or even accounting before that quote is released. There's just new customer add-ons, new customer ads. The salesperson adds a new prospect. They kick off a workflow where that is sent over to accounting for customer setup. Maybe they do a credit check. They do a background check. They make sure, again, the accounts and the sub-accounts are all set up properly. And then that customer setup is released by accounting. That's a typical workflow from sales through accounting. And it's really only limited by your imagination. The things that you're doing manually now outside the system that can be put into the system. And as well, and I didn't highlight that, but really there's a light document management system that comes with Acumatica. So you can store all those forms, compliance documents, contracts within the system so that you can always find them. So that's the kind of digital transformation we're talking about. It's clear that the cloud is becoming critical for business continuity. And we're seeing this now with the COVID virus, that our Acumatica customers, they transitioned, without missing a beat to the remote connectivity of employees. It just makes that process so much easier. Integrations, like I mentioned, with things like DocuSign and PDF We've got integrations with smart sheets and banks and credit card integrations. It is just phenomenally connected, and it's easy to do. So, and you're just more resilient in this type of environment where the employee doesn't need a big computer. They don't, in some cases, don't even need a computer. They can do a lot of alerts and management and approvals, expense and time collection from their cell phone. And that could be an Apple or a Android type phone. And this environment is just future-proof. I mean, the way it's designed, you're going to be using this technology easily for the next 10 years, and I think well beyond. So it is delivered on connected integrations, remote collaboration, business resilience, and it is future-proof. Here's a couple of quotes from some of Acumatica customers. We're getting the same type of feedback from our customers that it made them competitively more strong because some of their competitors couldn't move as easily when everything switched to remote and work at home. And they just were able to do this without missing a beat, either on a cell phone, a tablet, using simple Wi-Fi type work at home. You just need a browser, and it works as well from a Mac as it does from a Chrome tablet or a cell phone. Here's the main core products with Acumatica. Financial management, of course, general ledger, accounts payable, receivables, inventory. Project accounting is Acunet's specialty. Anybody that runs their business around a project, a contract, or a grant is where we really add value. Inventory management, most people have some inventory that they sell. Others are really into warehouse management, fulfillment, maybe even e-commerce, which is, again, been stimulated by this COVID virus, that a lot of people are trying to sell their products and services online. Customer management or CRM, I just can't say enough about how important it is to have CRM built into your ERP system. If you're using the other two popular products out there, and there's a bunch of others as well, Microsoft CRM or Salesforce, you're going to do some kind of integration work with your back-end accounting system. You want to pass quotes, you want to get pricing, the credit checks that we talked about, sales information. Is a customer late on their payments, and do I need to get that information back to the salespeople so that they can twist the arm of the customer and get that payment done? Can I quit taking orders and shipping out product to a customer that's already late on their AR? Those are all workflows and processes that when the CRM system and the ERP system are from the same company as it is with Acumatica, that integration is automatic. It's seamless. The accounting people have more visibility, have total visibility into what the salespeople are doing as far as pipeline and quotes and backlog. And the accounting people have total information into what's on hand in inventory, what the customer's payment cycle status is, if they're late on invoices. All that information is there for them to see in an easy dashboard. I've had customers spend literally hundreds of thousands of dollars integrating Microsoft CRM to their core accounting system. Acumatica does have a Salesforce integration that's built in standard, but even with that, there's going to be configuration and integration work that has to happen. But being a connected system with a product like Salesforce, we can do that. Payroll is a built-in module for some of our construction-oriented companies, union-related companies, government contractors sometimes, where the payroll overhead is very, very important to the cost and what they bill, that they have to do payroll in-house. We can do that with Acumatica as well. So those are the core accounting products. And then they have these industry specializations, something that, since we're project driven, we're oftentimes seeing field service as something else we need to do beside the project. That you've got a truck, actually a van or a truck actually going out to the customer to deliver the air, set up the air conditioner, or put some water purification system on a building. So that's where field service adds some additional value. The commerce system is the built-in e-commerce, which you can do with Acumatica. And you heard him mention it in the video there. I don't know if you caught that, but one of the problems with an e-commerce system is that you basically are maintaining two inventories and two sets of prices and promotions and pictures for the products that you're selling online. With Acumatica, you store those in one place and they flow back and forth to the e-commerce system. You only have to, if you add a new shoe, Chewbacca is one of Acumatica's big customers that uses the e-commerce system. So you can buy almost any shoe at Chewbacca. And all those pictures and promotions, and hey, you buy one set of Adidas shoes, you get the second set for 50% off. Those type of promotions are all done in one place, and they flow back and forth with the e-commerce system. Construction Edition is something that Acumatica has recently certified in, and there's just a ton of specialty contractors, electrical contractors, HVAC, plumbing, tree removals, and landscaping companies that use the construction module. Distribution is just the warehouse, ship it, maybe it's on a container, special freight options, and how you pack that container. All that information can be stored in Acumatica's inventory and distribution system. And then finally, manufacturing. Acumatica has a built-in manufacturing system that is part of their product, and it is all the same user interface. So when you're in the field service edition or the distribution edition, the menus look the same. So if you know one of these products, you're 90% of the way there on another product. And notice the breadth here of products that Acumatica can service a lot of different industries. And in some cases, our customers need a little bit of each. You imagine an engineering company that does civil engineering, and they definitely run on a project. So they're using the accounting modules, the project modules, and the CRM modules, but they also deliver that service out to the field. So they needed the field service edition, and sometimes they're even construction oriented. So they need some of the construction pieces. That's the kind of thing we can deliver with Acumatica and deliver it all in one platform with one common user interface. And the way Acumatica makes their product future-proof is with this wide distribution of skills and features that you see in their products, and they deliver it on this Microsoft.NET, Microsoft SQL database, delivered through Amazon or AWS Cloud, which in my mind is the best cloud platform out there. Their uptime is just phenomenal. If you look at Acumatica's uptime in 2019, it was 99.897% uptime. And I see, and the uptime is usually a scheduled maintenance, of 30 minutes, at 3 o'clock in the morning, so they can add new features. That's the only time that they're down. The Amazon is just so redundant with multiple data centers across the United States and across the world that it's just so powerful. One thing that we did for one of our customers is out of Canada now, for example. They started on the Acumatica system. It was actually hosted in the US, and then Canada changed the laws that they wanted the data hosted within the Canadian border. Well, Amazon has data centers in Canada, and it took about 15 minutes one evening to move it from the US data center to the Canadian data center to comply with that new Canadian law. That flexibility is just mind-boggling compared to what we would have had to deal with just 10 years ago. And when you talk about this common data interface, I've been around this business a long time, and I've seen the Frankenstein products that other companies have. Their core accounting is maybe one interface, but if you get off into the CRM system or the manufacturing or the distribution of the warehouse, the product looks a lot different. It's because they bought these products and acquired them over time and bolted them together. Acumatica's system is all developed in the same .NET development platform, so it all seamlessly integrates and it all looks and feels the same. So again, if you get familiar with accounts payable in Acumatica, when you move to accounts receivable and have to do some work, you already know 90% of it. So connected cross modules workflow, I talked a little bit about that in the example at the beginning with the adding the subcontractor. Acumatica has a universal workflow engine. So literally any process that where you need to check something, you need to, even things like adding a general ledger account, that you can add a general ledger account, but it's got to be approved by the finance manager before, sorry about that, hand popped on the screen there, before it's added to the GL and shows up in the general ledger journal. So you can add workflows and approvals for about anything in Acumatica that you can think of. And it's one thing for me to tell you how great Acumatica is and how easy the user interface is to work with, but take a look at a couple of these reports. This is the Nucleus Research, which is a prestigious technology evaluation company, and they rated Acumatica as #1, and the only person higher that you can see over here on this Infotech report was the Oracle ERP system, and that package is a multi-million-dollar ERP system. That's Oracle's. That's the system that's used by the GMs and the Fortune 1000s of the world. Acumatica is a mid-market package and it has a mid-market price point on it. So for it to be, at the top of that level and definitely top in its price range, speaks very well about the product. Some other awards, we've got these Cody Awards, which is kind of like the Oscars for the movies. PC Magazine is the Editor's Choice Awards. For the last 4 years, it's got the Editor's Choice for the best ERP system. So that's kind of like the consumer's reports of the technical world. Gartner also ranks Acumatica very high on customer service. And this G2 Crowd is kind of like if you've heard of a Net Promoter Score, you can go to G2 Crowd, look at their website, and you can see the rankings on Acumatica, and they score at the top of their class. Acumatica has 6,500 plus installations worldwide. That's not users, those are businesses using Acumatica, and it is a worldwide system. It comes with VAT tax and a lot of the things that Europe and Canada do that the US doesn't do built in. We've got compliance for reporting, financial reporting built in. So you're already using an international system. A lot of our customers are doing partnerships with companies in Europe and China, and Acumatica makes that type of global business much, much easier. Acumatica's Net Promoter Score, that's again, several of our customers are really focused on their ratings. When they do service, the customer rates them, and they give them what's called a Net Promoter Score. Acumatica has a 33 in the market, which is by far the highest of any ERP system out there. Acumatica's customer support satisfaction is 97%. And for the last 3 years, it's been the fastest growing ERP system in the world. Some of the strategic cloud relationships that Acumatica has is with Amazon, where they host their SaaS system. And they also have relationships with Microsoft, so that we can do Microsoft Azure, Office 365 integration and Power BI integration are built in, so it's just a seamless Office Exchange and task integration where you use that within Acumatica. And the CRM integration is built in. I can get an email from a prospect or a customer and attach it to the CRM opportunity, or I can create a new opportunity right off an email in Office 365. That's how tightly Office 365 and Acumatica CRM are integrated. And they're even getting in. Microsoft has starting to do some things with machine learning and artificial intelligence, and Acumatica is using those Microsoft Azure products to do that type of integration. Acumatica is doing over 180 million transactions per month through this system. So that's just a lot of AP and invoices going through the Acumatica engine. When we talk about open architecture and rapid integration, it's just really facilitated an explosion of products that work with Acumatica. I mentioned the DocuSign earlier in Power BI, but they're even doing things with Amazon and Alexa, so that you can have Alexa tell you what alerts you have waiting for you to approve, or time cards to approve. And that's kind of a fun type thing, but that voice type of use is something that's coming. And over the next 5 years, I really think we'll be doing more voice interaction with our accounting and project management and ERP systems. I mentioned the Salesforce integration. Box is a secure document storage integration that integrates with Acumatica. Adobe, Avalara is for sales tax and municipal taxes across the U.S. that you can web integrate with your orders and invoices. Tableau is a very strong time-sensitive project management view that you can hook into Acumatica's project. And then we talked about big e-commerce with systems like BigCommerce, Magento, and there's another one I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but Mike Coleman will know it. And then HubSpot is for marketing. And that's just kind of the bigger names in integration. There are literally dozens of them. The security in Acumatica is role-based. You can do multi-level two-factor authentication. It is just extremely secure and easy to manage. One of the things I find interesting is that we have a legacy group of probably about 100 Dynamics SL customers, and still to this day, every year, 2 or 3 of those customers will get a ransomware virus, and we'll have to help them recover from that and try and get back to it as well as possible. And sometimes those customers are down easily 2 or 3 days, and in some cases a week or two before they're back to full operation. That just doesn't happen with Acumatica. The ransomware virus can't jump across that web service to get to it, so it is secure and prevented from getting that ransomware virus. Analytics is being increasingly hot. I mentioned the Power BI is the kind of the layman's tool, but Tableau is very popular. Felixo Report Writer, BI 360. We're using Calumo at several of our customers, which is a very powerful BI tool. And the key thing is access from anywhere, any device, with natural language. So you can do things like talk to your Apple Watch and Siri and Alexa and ask for reports or updates. But the most common use is, over the web, with a tablet, your home computer or Macintosh, and built in is the cell phone. And Acumatica doesn't charge extra for the cell phone. That's standard with the product. So any dashboard you can see in Acumatica, you can see on your cell phone. And finally, flexible deployments. Well, not finally, but here I'm getting near the end. Is overwhelmingly, 95% 5% of our customers do a SaaS subscription-based license. You know, you pay for it monthly or annually, and it's all delivered in the cloud. And Acumatica does most of the upgrades for you automatically. They take care of all the backups, you know, all the continuity issues. They do all those things for you automatically in the cloud. And you don't have to have the server. You don't have to have the partial IT resource that's maintaining your server, backing it up, you know, making sure you've got performance and storage. All those things are handled by Acumatica in the cloud. But you do have the option of still loading it locally. You can still serve it up, you know, over IIS as a cloud application, but you're hosting it locally. Some of our customers want to do that because they do a lot of development and integration with other legacies or operational systems that they can't move out of today. So you can start on premise and you can move to the cloud later, and Acumatica will credit that one way or the other. You could start in the cloud and move to on premise, and then a few customers say, hey, I don't want to have it on my own servers. I want to host it, but I want it at the Cincinnati Bell location down the street, or at my Westerville has a very good data center right here in Westerville. I could put Acumatica in that data center, and they have licensing for all that. So that's an option you don't get with a lot of other ERP systems. You know, they only do it on premise or they only do it in the cloud. They can't give you all three options. And then really significantly is the growth-friendly or flexible licensing. You know, kind of a wake-up call here for us is that some of our customers, you know, especially those in retail, have just been decimated by COVID. So they went from 100 miles an hour to 0 the last 3 months, and their transactions have gone to 0. Acumatica prices on transactions. So if your transaction volume typically would go up, it's easy for you to add more horsepower for a few more dollars a month to increase those transactions. But if your transactions go down, you can actually scale down. And Acumatica has been very, you know, fortunately, none of our customers have gotten hammered like that. But Acumatica is working with those that are in those segments that have pretty much been shut down for the last 3 months and doing some special deals with them on licensing to help them get through this tough time. So since you're not just, you know, buying the system, spending $100,000 as a capital expense, you're renting it. You've got more of a partnership with Acumatica when things go bad, and they'll work with you. And another odd thing, I mean, you know, a lot of people use QuickBooks Online. You don't own your data with QuickBooks Online. You don't own your data with NetSuite, for example. And as a company like QuickBooks actually mines that data. They keep track of the type of transactions you're doing, almost like Google does, so that they can promote other products to your business that you might need. And they also can use that intelligence to say, you know, that the retail segment of the market is doing poorly, and maybe you know, IT is booming. They keep track of that information, and they sell the statistics and the data to other companies that want to know how you're doing. With Acumatica, you own your data. They don't sell it. They don't mine it. You can get a backup of it with something called a snapshot immediately. I can download all our data to my local PC if I wanted. And we use that a lot for training. We'll actually download a snapshot of your database to a local PC and let somebody play with the system to learn how to use a new feature. Maybe they want to do something with the database, see what happens if I change the chart of account structure, if I change a setup, how does that impact the system? You can play with it on that snapshot. If it works out, you can upload it and move forward. If it doesn't, then you can just make a new snapshot and try again. So it's a great thing to be able to play with and train and improve, but it also demonstrates how much you own your data. With systems like NetSuite, you don't own your data. You don't get it in a database. If you want your data because you're moving to another system, they send you a bunch of Excel spreadsheets with vendor masters and vendor transactions and setup tables with terms, and then you have to patch all that back together, basically go through a conversion. where with Acumatica, you get it in a SQL database. It's much more usable and migratable. Acumatica comes with free training, and the training is good. It's very good video training that you can use to keep your employees up on new features and to to keep people up on the product and keep them well trained and certified. And then Acumatica finally comes with a bill of rights, so that they spell out things like you own your data, that you have flexible deployment options, that they guarantee no price increase of more than 3% a year. Some years it's nothing, some years it's 3%, but they guarantee that they won't go more than 3%. I've heard of other cloud vendors that change their pricing 25% in 1 year. And then Acumatica has consistently come out with new features. They've added some things like capturing images from the mobile devices and that can be uploaded into the ERP system. They added payroll this year. They improved the lead qualification in CRM. I won't go into all of these, but they added matrix pricing and inventory this year, which is great for, we've got some customers that actually are t-shirt manufacturers. So you want to know that I've got a size large t-shirt, but do I have it in red and with a certain logo, or a V-neck rather than a crew neck? That's matrix inventory valuations.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Coman. I've been working with Acumatica now for several years. I won't mention how many, but you know how that goes. So what we're going to take a look at today is the flow of Acumatica and the available, what's available for you to use. As you can see from the first screen I'm pulling up here, I'm looking at a dashboard. These dashboards are all created by the customer, but we do have a set of about 20 dashboards that we can import at any time and give you the view into your data that you're looking for. This one is a sales dashboard, and as you can see, there are a lot of different types of widgets that are available for us to use. Let's see here. If we were to go to add a new widget to a dashboard, we can use charts and data tables, embedded pages from the internet. So if you have a credit card company or a bank that you would like to be on your dashboard, you can pull it up at any time. A lot of companies use weather as a big part of their lives, so they would have a weather dashboard, a weather website that comes up. We also have pivot tables that you can use once you gather the data. If you are a Power BI user right now, you can embed your tiles into the dashboards themselves. We have scorecards, trends, and wiki pages. Wiki pages are exactly what you think they are. They're a list or a page that defines or gives information to a customer or to a employee. So if you wanted to, and you were wanted to have the flow of projects identified for anyone who wanted to see it, you could do that. You could show where all the inventory issues, the purchase receipts, the bills, they all go into the general ledger, and then they transfer to the project. And when they're in project, we can allocate them and bill them to our customers. So that's an interesting thing that gives you the ability to turn over an employee into production as quickly as possible. We're going to take a look at this one. This one's for projects. And like I say, these are all developed with information that we have within the system. And that's called a generic inquiry. So it allows you to drill down. So I have 4 late projects, tasks. That's not good. I want to know why. And it gives me the projects that I have and how to pull them, and tells me where to pull them up so that I can view them. Another thing that we have been working hard, Mike was talking about the Microsoft installation and access. These tasks here appear on your Outlook. And any emails that you transfer back and forth can also be used by using this this access tool right here. I'm going to play with it here, show you. It allows it to come up and it tells you the customer, who they're working for, if you want to create a case or an opportunity. So that's how the integrations work. It allows the flexibility for you to go back and forth between Outlook and Acumatica. So let's look at some projects. Let's see if we can drill down into those. So this is going to pull up the project list, and these are my active projects that we would talk about. Most of the people that are in attendance today work with projects, so I thought that's where I would start. So this is how we import projects. If you take a look at the information that's going in, none of this is any different than you're used to seeing probably. Default locations, that helps you with taxes and employee taxes and payroll taxes as you move forward. And it also has the billing rules and what rate tables you'll be using. And it also shows who you're sending the bill to. Generally, we give this information to project managers so they can see what's going on with their projects. We have a list of tasks associated with the project and the billing rules. So in these kind of screens, we kind of try to do a couple of things. In most screens, you'll see that there's a notes field, and that allows you to keep track of notes. If I were a project manager and I saw something red, or a project supervisor and I saw something red, I'm going to click on that. I want that to pop up and tell me why these late project tasks. If I'm the project manager, I come here and I make sure that my notes say, project running late, these three things. Date it and put a timestamp on it. That way everyone knows why it's late. And that's just good common sense. You want to make sure that you address those issues prior to getting in trouble for them. At least that's what I try to do. We also have the ability to keep track of files. So as far as project goes, if you want to keep a copy of your quotes, keep information about the posting, so maybe some plans, all of that information can go here. That being said, that keeps everything in one place. So everybody knows where everything is. It's not on your desk. It's not on my desk. We have a paperless copy here, and we can move forward with it. Now, we have tasks. We have budgets that we can put in, original budgets and then revised budgets. As we move forward, this particular project, we're able to do, well, we're not, I'm sorry, a change order workflow. So if there is a change order, we can create the change order, send it out for approval, and then integrate the change order into the project. And that would be reflected on the revised budgeting. Now, one of the things that is very important to us is that we see that the budget is what the balances are. And the balances are the budgets, the actuals, and the variance between them. So this gives you a breakdown of every project that you have assigned to a specific person, or this project as it is displayed right now. We do, we have unbilled transactions that accumulate, that allow us to move forward and bill later on, and we also have the ability to view transactions. So if I want to know what the revenue is doing, I can ask it here, and it'll give me a list of the transactions, and where they came from. So one of the things that we noticed about this screen is that it's probably not the way you want it to be. So changing screens or changing columns within a screen are pretty easy to do. So right now I don't like default, I want the default there, and I don't need tax category. So if I come to this little box here, it allows me to customize this screen however I see fit. If I don't need tax categories, I can take it out. I probably want to know whether I have to bill things separately. So I can change them in and out how I need them. Not that everybody needs everything, but there are a set standard of things that have to be established. On this particular screen, we have to have the task, we have to have the description, we also have to have the status. Now this mobility or changeability in the screen applies everywhere. It applies to AP, AR, check writing, banking transactions. Each screen allows you to make these kinds of changes. Another important aspect of these columns are these notices right here. By clicking here, this takes this automatically to Excel. So if you're doing a journal transaction and you want it to see what you have in there, you can hit Excel, export it to Excel, and take a look at how things are done. So also, that means that if you have an Excel spreadsheet and you need to upload it, you can do that right here too. By doing that, you define the columns in the spreadsheet to match the columns in your table, and they will match one-to-one. Gives you a little more flexibility in how you import information. One of the things that this allows us to do is when we take other systems and bring information in, this gives us a template of how the information needs to be presented so that we can import data into this system from as many sources as we like. One of the sources that we find is banks. It allows us to do bank reconciliations with the same flexibility. As you can see up here, we have the notes and the files. We also have them per line. So if you have some information that you're going to input per line, that information can give the project manager some additional information or possibilities. We're using commitments in this particular one. So when purchase orders are created, we can make the commitment. We can keep the commitment in the system to know what charges we're going to have to do with that client. And we also have a copy of the invoices that we've sent this client with this project. So the program manager, project manager is not going to have to go to AR and say, I need a copy of this invoice. We can give them access to look at it right here. Also with change orders. If there were any outstanding change orders, the system would only allow you to have one outstanding change order at a time right now. And that allows you to know that somebody has already talked to them. Having said that about talking to someone, this activities history right here, this lists all the activities that you've done on this project. If you've had people working on it that haven't billed yet, or you have a meeting with a client, or you've sent an email, this is where the Outlook integration really helps. You keep track of all those things right here, so you know what's going on with this particular client. And then if you need to say that you're going to want to look at this in 2 weeks. We can add a task, and this will go back to your dashboard here and list as an outstanding task. It will tell you that you have these tasks available. None of them are, well, 3 of them are overdue, but you could always know what they were and how to get to them. Let's see here. And you can also assign them if you're given the right permission. You can assign that task to someone else. This is a visual area where you can type things in that you would like to see or have available. You can keep track of tasks and how much time you spent on them. But those are all available for you to use on the project field. So we can also limit who can work on the task by employees or equipment. So we know what the rates are for these employees, and we know that we want them on this task because they'll help us make this task profitable. We can also assign equipment if you want specific things worked on or specific hours that you're going to charge to the client. We also have a field called attributes. These are all company approved. So what I'm trying to say is the person with authority has the ability to put these in and make them required. So you know what the expense markup percentage will be, or if there's other things. This is an EEO project, or this is this is a green project that we can accumulate and put into our state reporting. So that's pretty much how the projects work. We do have some reports that are available for projects. We are able to build any of the reports that we would like, the same way that we build these generic inquiries behind these. I think everybody is on mute now. Mike, do you see anybody asking questions or any concerns? This is the end of the hour, so I wanted to make sure that we covered the most important parts first. So
I was going to say Mike focused on the project features, but we can definitely open it up. If people want to ask specific questions, we can handle those. Maybe got another 15 minutes or so that we can chat.
Okay. Mr. Milligan was talking about the addition of specific verticals that are also out there now. This is the vertical for construction. It has many of the same features as project does because they're pretty much the same, but it also adds some of the more important aspects. When we were talking about adding files to a project, right now, construction also adds project issues, drawing logs, and daily reports. You can also put daily reports out, and as daily reports accumulate, they can create project issues. And if there's a big enough project issue and decisions are made, then change orders are established. We also have an integration with Procore. So if any of you have used Procore or seen any of their mapping and integration projects, this all works here, which is nice. Keeping track of insurance, keeping track of the skills of your subcontractors. We also have a compliance section so that we can relieve liens as they become available. And we can also do inventory of stock. So if you have items that are going to be issued for a project, you can keep track of them in the project, in the construction edition. In the standard edition, we use something called non-stock inventory items, and that allows you to keep track of things that necessarily don't have a full an impact on your general ledger. So let's see here.
A couple other things I could cover there, Mike, is construction module does dual checks so that you can issue checks to a supplier and a subcontractor to handle that compliance feature, if you would. Change orders and a very strong union payroll module that's built in. So those are all just some of the highlights.
All right. So let's talk about what people will see in the field. Unfortunately, I've been trying to get my phone to broadcast, but I haven't been able to do that yet. So on people's phone, they're able to do time cards and expense reporting. They're also able to see projects, tasks, and other information that they might need. So let's take a look at the time cards. Here. So when a time card comes up, we can put what type of earnings, what project, what task they're on. This particular time card is used in marketing, so they put task IDs in from what they've been assigned to do, like events or market information gathering. Labor items define what each employee is charged at or what they're going to get paid at. If your particular business doesn't do that, we can easily hide this. So, and then you can put them out there on a daily basis of their time. You can also add different projects on different days so that they can keep track of everything going on to make things easier. This field here, the description field, is used, we use it to convey information to the customer. So right now, whatever I type on here is going to appear on our invoice to the customer when we run our billing every week. Right now, you can only preload from the previous time card. One of the things that we hope to see in the next edition is being able to choose which time card you want to copy. So if there are, if you do a different thing every week during the month, you can transfer the second week or the third week into the time card, and that allows you not to have to retype things. And as we talked about before, the notes and the files are up here. So if you have a note, the reason it took me 40 hours on this client is because, or here's a copy of a file that we needed for this project. And they can do that from their phone or from their tablet. And when their supervisor pulls this up to approve it, he can gather that information. Let's see here. We can also put materials in by project and task. It doesn't have to be an inventory item. It could also be a non-stock item that you wanted to make sure that you charged to the customer. If someone went out for a service call and they needed to use 6 widgets, you could annotate the widgets here, take them out of inventory. Well, if they were in inventory, you would take them out of inventory on that person's truck or in the warehouse, and this would allow you to charge that customer for them. Expense reporting. Acumatica does expense reporting a little bit different. What it allows you to do is create receipts. So you can, depending on your particular business, you can create receipts as you go. Take pictures with your phone and attach them to the particular receipt. I don't think any of these have pictures attached to them. And then when you get ready or you get back or it's the end of the week, you can create an expense claim. And as you create the claim, you pull all those receipts in to the particular expense claim that you want. Now, this expense claim would go forward and be approved and then automatically be in payroll. So that allows a little bit of flexibility and speed, and then tell you what is still outstanding, who hasn't submitted their expense reports, who haven't submitted their time cards. Like most project systems, expense items, travel, goes to a specific expense account. The employee only has to know that travel is the expense item that he needs. And as we talked about with the dashboards, I don't think this one has it, but project manager. Approvals will appear here and tell the supervisor that they need to approve the items. We have used Microsoft Push or push notifications for people, and those notifications tell you that you have a time card to approve. The problem with it is if you've got 10 time cards and they all do them on Friday, you're going to get 10 emails. I do not know. We have a question, and the question is, does Acumatica interface with RealPage OneSite? I'm not sure what OneSite is, but depending on what kind of information you're trying to gather, whether it be payroll or revenue, we could build an interface for that. Let's see here.
I'll check into that for sure.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments that you'd like to see, or are there any sections that would interest you? All right. So the question we got is, can you show us the payable module? Excellent. So here's the vendor payables module. As you run through this, this screen is as flexible as you want it to be. One of the things that we're always able to do is, well, payables, edit these screens for different needs. So if there are the items that are checked appear on the quick menu. If you uncheck them, they will not be on the quick menu, and they probably don't need to be. I am sure none of the 1099 reporting needs to be seen on the quick menu. So, well, so we come out of here and we see these items are no longer on here. The payables module is done in two ways to access it. This is a list of the payables. See this status up here? This is a generic inquiry that we ask this information to be on this screen. If you don't want this information on the screen, you can take the column out. I don't like close. I don't need to see close. So on my menus, I always have this clear all. Well, select all. I don't want to see closed. So this is what I have available to me. So one of the things that we see a lot of is people who have expense report bills with multiple items on them. And as you can see here, as long as you have these lined up, you can upload all the documents you need to fill each line. We use vendor classes so that the default information on expenses and where the accounts payable transactions are going to reside and what kind of payment the customer will have is right here. And then we can assign project and tasks expenses within accounts payable here. Those of you with multiple companies, we also have the ability to pay one bill for 5 companies. And then the intercompany transactions could appear here. We do it by branches in this particular setup. We also have a deferral code schedule here, which allows you to put in a bill and automatically create a deferral. So if I were to put this into the 2100, so I would use 2100, I would use rent or prepaid. What this would allow me to do is create a deferral schedule specifically from this screen and move the money from the deferred expense or prepaid expense to the expense every month, depending on how I set up the schedule. And that also allows you to go into the deferred module and pull up schedules to see what you have coming up and what your balances should be. Makes it really easy to balance the deferred or prepaid accounts. For those of you who have that or something like that, we do that here, and depending on your area, you can make those adjustments and set up those taxing agencies. One of the things that comes with Acumatica is ACH. And also what comes with Acumatica is payment, customized checks. So if you need them, we have the ability to print multiple. You only own one check stock, and we can print multiple account headings or notch information on each check. This comes with Acumatica, and this looks very familiar for those of you who use ACH. It's part of the company. It's part of it, and it's free. Well, it's not free because you have to buy the software, but
included.
All right. Is there anything else that we'd like to talk about? Or accounts receivable is pretty much the same kind of setup. There are two ways to create accounts receivable with projects. Some of you are probably using flexible billing, and that runs through the project module, or you can do accounts receivable here. And as you do accounts receivable, you can annotate the project that you want or task that you want to be associated with that accounts receivable. So these menus, though, are all flexible. We can take away or add as many items to them as you would like. Of course, there is a favorites, like you see in most software, where you list your favorite transactions so that you don't have to go through them repeatedly, which makes it kind of nice. Are there any other things that you're looking for or would like to know about or would like to comment on?
Yeah, I don't see any other questions in chat at this time, Mike.
No? Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah,
thank you. If you have any
Mike,
questions or comments or concerns, bring them on. We'll answer them for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you can send an email to mmilligan@acccu.com or call me at 614-568-2119, and we'll answer those questions. I did get a few questions in the chat, and I'll follow up on those with those individuals. And we hope you got something out of this and appreciate your time. So let everybody go.